The cry of a newborn baby brings immense joy. For mothers, it is a dream come true and the beginning of motherhood. Amidst the joy and excitement, there can be unexpected challenges. For some mothers, the days after delivery bring not only physical changes, but also emotional struggles that can be difficult to navigate.
I had heard about, pregnancy, motherhood and all that stuff. You read about some of the things, but I don't think that anything adequately prepares you for what the journey will be like afterwards. So I went in, had a vaginal delivery, but then I also suffered an episiotomy because I had been in labor for 48 hours. So I was too tired to push properly, and so they decided to just create an incision. And that experience was very traumatic for me.
Inokwa Grain is a mother of 3. In 2017, she welcomed her first child. Little did she know that the arrival of her bundle of joy would also sink her into the depths of what health professionals call postpartum depression.
That amount of pain that I was in, I think it sent me over the edge. That, and then the fact that I couldn't breastfeed immediately, because again at the time we were told as long as you have your baby, breast milk will be flowing and that's it. But it had been a couple of days and the breast milk was still not flowing. So that, and then I had to constantly put the baby on the breast, to be able to stimulate some breast milk. My baby at the time wasn't latching properly. I didn't have access to any lactation consultants or anyone to actually guide me on what to do. So just a lot of advice and hearsay from different people saying, oh, apply shea butter, oh, do this, do that. So I'll try all these things. It wasn't working, and it was so painful when he's latches. So I had the pain of the latch, and then also I guess like the emotional pain of not being able to breastfeed immediately. Then also the fact that I had the stitch.
The happiness of having a baby turns out to be a mirage for some mothers who drown in depression. Somehow, these mothers begin to feel a certain weird sense of inadequacy and a feeling that they are failing as mothers.
I remember at the time my mother, God bless her, but she was on my ear about, try, you can do it. So someone is like yelling, and that was it. So I started to sink into depression. And I didn't even notice that was what was happening. All I knew was that I wasn't happy, and I also knew I wasn't bonding with my baby properly. I was never one of those mothers that once I popped the baby, I smiled into my baby's face and then held him and rocked him. No. I was just happy to be done with that experience. The nurses came for him and I was so relieved. So I never really bonded with him the first few, maybe even weeks.
When a woman is pregnant, the placenta is what connects the baby to the mother. The placenta produces high levels of some hormone we call estrogen and progesterone. And these ones trigger the brain to produce some feel-good chemicals. One of them is called dopamine, another one is called serotonin. So these help the woman to cope with the stress of pregnancy. Okay, feel good, feel good, feel good. So when she's delivered and the placenta separates and comes out, the level of estrogen and progesterone that trigger the feel-good things would drop. So the feel-good things have dropped. At the same time, she has a new baby, and the stress of taking care of the new baby goes up. So this is what explains it. But different people have different vulnerabilities.
Postpartum depression is a reality for many women, affecting roughly 4 in every 10 mothers. It is a complex and often misunderstood condition that can manifest in a variety of ways, from overwhelming sadness and anxiety to feelings of inadequacy and guilt.
Very dark thoughts, very, very dark thoughts. Like you start to, first of all, you at the beginning you don't like your baby. You don't like your baby. You don't even want to be a mother. It's like, is this thing for me? And also, is this the thing that is so hyped? This wasn't really living up to my expectations. Then also, it's like, one other thing I wanted to mention was that I felt alone because I was one of the first to have a baby among my friend group. So none of them even understood what I was going through, and I didn't even want to explain it to them or tell them because I didn't think they'll get it. So a lot of crying because I feel I'm alone. Even with my husband being around and all that, I still felt he wouldn't even understand it. I couldn't even explain it to him in words. And then he was also starting to get frustrated with me because at the time he said, you know, this is what you always wanted, now you have it and then you're upset. Like, what is going on? And those questions were even pissing me off more.
The postpartum mental disorders or perinatal mental health problems, there are 4 main types. Okay, we have what we call the postpartum blues, where the woman after delivery, just a little bit of mood instability, she cries a little, she's just not sure what is all about, but that clears within a few days. Then we have the postpartum anxiety. The woman is so anxious, she won't allow you to touch the baby, which also lasts 7 to 10 days, and then it goes away, just with a bit of reassurance. Then the commonest is the postpartum depression, okay, when the woman is low in energy, she's not happy, she just sits down, she's crying, and so psychologically she doesn't feel anything for the baby, so doesn't even want to breastfeed, doesn't want to even bring the baby close to her. And family people may think, oh, she's being unfriendly, or she's the only one who has given birth, but it's a problem. Okay. Then the worst is what we call the postpartum psychosis.
Postpartum illness can have serious implications for both the mother and the infant. It is crucial for families and healthcare providers to be vigilant and provide the needed care. For Eno, having her mother experience similar symptoms helped provide the needed support through these downtimes.
My mother actually noticed certain signs and said, I think you might be getting depressed. I think this looks like postpartum depression because I experienced it.
Some of the common risk factors include somebody who has a personal history or a family history of depression. Once you have that in your history, either you or your family, your risk goes up more than the average individual.
These perinatal mental health issues left unaddressed affect how the mother bonds with the baby. It affects lactation. They don't get milk. They won't breastfeed. And breast milk, breastfeeding is the single most important thing the babies need. It helps them to grow, their immunity, their intellectual capability. It helps them to even regulate their feeding. But the woman with postpartum mental health problem is not able to breastfeed. Some actually say, no, don't bring the baby near me. I haven't given birth. No, I don't see the baby. Just because we don't screen to detect these things early enough and put interventions in place to take care of them.
The risk factors of mental illness can vary from hormonal changes to lack of support and a history of mental health issues.
People generally going through a lot of psychosocial stresses. When we talk about psychosocial stresses, I mean finances is a psychosocial stressor. Marital problems, if you are married, is a psychosocial. Even work, your concerns about work. Am I going to lose my job? How much maternity leave am I entitled to? Will I be replaced if I go? So all these are psychosocial stresses that can trigger it.
Dealing with postpartum depression involves a combination of self-care strategies, seeking professional help, building a support network, and making lifestyle adjustments. Mothers seeking help should see it as a sign of strength and not weakness. Postpartum mental depression is treatable, and with the right support and resources, affected mothers can enjoy a fulfilling motherhood journey.
There's treatments for women who have any postpartum mental illness at all, and by extension anybody with a mental illness. So the first thing is identifying that this person has a problem. So midwives, the gynecologists, as you imagine, that's where the person will give birth. So they are usually the first people to recognize that something is going on. Or family members, Usually when somebody is coming to deliver, somebody will come and live with them, their mother, their sister, their aunt, an experienced person usually, so that person has an idea of how a new mother behaves.
At the beginning, when I was working out, it was just, I had a little trampoline in the house, and it was just simple things like just jumping on the trampoline. When we are in the living room or something like that, I can just put the trampoline there, wherever the baby is, and just be jumping on it and see. It did me a lot of good, because there was something about my heart pumping and things like that, that I felt rejuvenated, and like I felt like I had the best of energy, and I felt like I was becoming myself again.
Postpartum depression is a common but often overlooked condition affecting many new mothers. Just like any mental illness, stigma surrounding postpartum depression is prevalent in Ghanaian society, making it difficult for mothers to openly discuss their feelings or seek professional help.
In Ghana, there isn't a lot of information and a lot of knowledge when it comes to postpartum depression. People just say, oh, you know, it's normal. What you were going through, we all went through it. People usually dismiss women when they say they experience something like that.
There's a lot of stigma in the community. The patients we spoke to who have lived experiences, they said friends abandoned them. One respondent in the interview said, my friends stopped coming to me. Initially I thought they were just giving me time to heal, but later I heard that they were telling others to be careful about me because I am mentally sick, and if they get too close to me, they will get it. Another narrative said, my husband's mother told the son not to even have intimacy with me because I was mad and I was going to get to transfer it to him. Another person said, people were gossiping about me. Everybody said, avoid him, don't go to their house because there's mental health. Another mother-in-law said to the son that we will not allow this, your wife, to bring madness into our family. We don't want madness. We won't allow her to bring it. That is stigma right from the home and the community.
So if it's the person is still on admission, the midwife sees it, the doctor sees it, they refer to a psychiatrist. If it's a family member, we bring the person to see a psychiatrist. We assess the person and then we intervene. There are medications, there are psychological interventions, and other procedures for them so that we shorten the illness. As I've said, it has devastating effects on the baby, so the aim is to shorten it as much as possible. And in extreme cases, I've said that it can lead to self-harm on the mother's side and even death of the baby, called infanticide. So you can imagine that potentially it's quite dangerous, and you want to treat, intervene immediately, get the mother well, get her to bond with her baby, and let them have, you know, a good mother and child time, family time. So yes, there are treatments.
There is a general lack of awareness and appreciation of postpartum mental health issues. Ghana's healthcare system often lacks sufficient resources, including mental health professionals, for postpartum depression screening and treatment.
About half of healthcare professionals in the country said they are not familiar with maternal mental health issues, and that is a big gap. Yes. Okay, so there's a gap in our own knowledge, skills, and ability as providers. And the providers have called for integration of maternal mental health, one, right from the point of training, at the point of training midwives, medical students, and the postgraduates, that we should hammer more on these things. Then they have the skills and the knowledge.
As a mother, if you know that you are supposed to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months, that's what the public health nurses tell us all the time. And then, you know, yet you have to go back to work after 3 months. There's going to be so much pressure on you to make sure that the breast milk is flowing, you bond with your baby, you put everything in place before you go back to work. And mind you, at that time, still, your hormones have not returned to normal. You physically, mentally, emotionally, you're not ready for work. You can't even be productive at work. And then also, one of the things that people don't talk about is mom guilt. So you're at work and you're feeling so guilty leaving your... The 3-month-old is barely, it's still a newborn at home under the care of who? if you don't have the right assistance, then, who is it? So I believe that extending maternity leave, I feel that will play a major role in curbing some of these mental health challenges that we face.
Integration of mental health screening and support within maternal and child health services is not standardized across Ghana's healthcare facilities. This results in missed opportunities for early detection and intervention.
We need to have in place a system where we screen all pregnant women. So we are now proposing that the antenatal book that the women carry, we put a screening sheet inside. So first trimester, we check the scores. Second trimester, we check. Third trimester, after delivery. So we're able to tell that, no, the scores are getting bad. So come on, let's get a clinical psychologist. Perinatal mental health problems are a major determinant of pregnancy and newborn outcomes in Ghana. Unfortunately, we don't have a national policy, and the healthcare systems don't have provisions to deal with it. All we need is to do routine screening. So there's the need for the Ministry of Health as the lead sector ministry to formulate the policy urgently. Then all the implementing agencies will take their source and inspiration from that. Until then, whatever we can do as healthcare givers, we will start giving a bit of attention to the mental health of our patients, and hope that we're able to get to the point where we screen routinely and quality maternal mental health is integrated into the routine maternal and newborn health care in Ghana.
Addressing postpartum mental issues requires a multifaceted approach involving advocacy, education, policy development, resource allocation, and community engagement. Efforts to increase awareness, reduce stigma, improve access to mental health services, and strengthen healthcare infrastructure are essential for joyous motherhood and childhood journeys.
Did you know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month? Yeah, it's a month set aside to spotlight mental health, the various issues that come out of that, and combating the stigmas associated with mental health. And the Mental Health Authority, they are doing their mandate by creating awareness. So I've been joined by Dr. Julius Hatche, who's a specialist psychologist in the studio with me this morning, to sort of educate you, our audience, on mental health issues and the need for you to take it seriously. And then we'll pivot into postpartum depression and how you can stay sane during those times. Dr. Julius Hatche, thank you for joining us in the studio.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling this morning?
I'm okay.
So May is Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And how are you at the Mental Health Authority marking this, apart from the awareness creation thing that you're doing?
Okay. Thank you so much. So yes, you rightly mentioned May is the Purple Month. As it stands now, all over the country, we have mounted various billboards and pull-up stands to paint the whole nation purple.
Yeah.
For everyone to be aware that there is an aspect of health that often has been neglected for so long,
right.
And that is the mental health of the people of Ghana. Apart from these media engagements that we've been having over the period, we've also been doing what we call school health creation,
Okay.
school mental health awareness creation. So we've been targeting primary schools, secondary schools, both in the government sector
Right.
as well as private sector,
Okay.
to drum home the message of mental health awareness with regards to them. Apart from that too, we are also trying to reach out to the people who are in the communities, people who find themselves in the villages, especially beyond where they cannot have access to primary care. And so as it stands now, mental health authorities in the Eastern region, where we are running specialist clinics and satellite clinics in those communities to screen them so that people who come out with various mental illnesses will be referred appropriately for the necessary management.
You're doing well.
Thank you.
If I'd known earlier, I would have worn something purple to support you.
It's not too late.
Tomorrow I can. So it's a whole month-long activity,
exactly.
Right? Now, often when you talk about mental health, people think there's something wrong with you. You know, if you say that you cannot engage in a certain activity for your mental health, you sound very bourgeoisie. But really, tell me, how crucial is it that we take our mental health seriously, and what should we be doing to ensure that we are taking care of our mental health?
Thank you so much. So yes, the mental health of an individual is actually the key to every other health that the individual will enjoy. There is about no disease or no illness on this planet that can affect an individual without an aspect of their mental health being affected equally. And so it's supposed to be the center for the planning of all our healthcare services as it stands now. Now, mental health care or protection of one's mental health does not require something that is so much that goes beyond anything that a nation like Ghana can provide. And it starts with just the little things, okay? Things like, for instance, this month, our theme is movement, moving more for mental health.
Moving more for mental health.
Exactly. And exercise is one very important thing, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything.
Except when you're going to the gym. No, but I get what you mean.
Exactly. You can just jog around the neighborhood. Just take some brisk walk around the neighborhood. And it brings so many benefits. It allows your body and your brains to release endorphins. It makes you feel good about yourself. It improves your mood, especially when you are meeting your fitness targets. Oh, so today I was able to make 1,000 steps. Then tomorrow...
That's me. Target. I have the count thing. Counting my steps.
What's your target for today?
I do 5,000 a day on the average. On weekends, I try to do 10,000.
How do you feel when you are able to?
I feel fantastic.
You can imagine.
In fact, I've done it to a point where if I take a break for about a week, I don't feel good within myself. I feel like there's something missing.
It's missing. It's missing. That
really,
achievement. You see how it builds your self-esteem. You take a look at yourself in the mirror and you are like, whoa, I'm putting on the shape that I want.
All right.
You know?
Dr. Hache, apart from, we will talk about postpartum, but I'm curious to know, what are some of the common mental health issues that most Ghanaians face in this country?
Typically, we have a myriad of mental health issues, but what we tend to see more in the various clinics here include things like substance use disorders, depression and anxiety, what we call schizophrenia, and then the very common that has made the news recently, in recent times, is bipolar affective disorders and stuff like that. But then every now and then we get the wide range of them also appearing. But among the top 4, top 5, these are the things that usually we find over there. Depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar affective disorder, substance use disorders.
Let's stay on depression because we want to talk about postpartum depression. And why is it so important that new mothers or parents, whether fathers or mothers, understand what this means, when it happens, and how they can tackle it head on?
Yeah. So postpartum depression is so important because unlike almost all the other diseases and illnesses that happen to human beings, this involves not just one person. It involves a primary caregiver, which is the mother, and often the infant that is involved. And postpartum depression can get so bad and gets very complicated to the extent that the life of the mother becomes at risk because often they commit suicide. Yes. And sometimes even to the worst, infanticide. So unfortunately, they may kill themselves or even take the child's life as well. And it can also predispose the woman to further mental illnesses even in the future. So it's so important that every woman, everybody, every man, I should say, should even be aware of postpartum depression so that we can lend a hand to these women anytime that they deliver as a form of support to prevent the development of such untoward condition. You understand?
Just to bring our audience to speed, postpartum is a period right after childbirth where the woman's body, or the woman goes through a lot of changes. Could be physical, mental, emotional, and it encompasses a lot of changes. So then that brings me to my question to you. How different are each of these mothers' experiences, and how do you treat each one of them? And what are some of the misconceptions really about postpartum depression?
Yeah, so every individual is different, and the way postpartum depression may manifest in one person is often different from the other. And like you said, the postpartum period spans the period from the time that the baby is born up to about a year, even after delivery.
Lasts for a whole year.
Exactly.
See, that's one misconception.
Exactly.
From what I know, I thought it just lasts for 6 weeks.
So most people think that, the postpartum period is just 6 weeks after delivery, 42 days or so. But then we have noticed that for some of the mothers, they develop these conditions way after the 6 weeks. And so by general consensus in the psychiatric community, psychological community, we know that the diseases or the woman continues to remain at risk until the baby is a year after birth.
Okay.
You understand? Now, with regards to handling people who develop these particular conditions, it's not something that is extra beyond our abilities to do. First, there is the preventive aspect of it. We need to help these mothers to be able to take care of their babies. Like you rightly said, there is a mixture of things, psychological things, biological things, even physical things.
Yeah.
You understand? I personally saw my wife who delivered, and at the end of the day, she was taking a look at herself in a mirror one day. She didn't see me spying at her, and she was like, you understand? So the body shape has changed, and you can imagine how some of these women think about themselves in such a period. Someone who could wear all the tight-fitting dresses, now you have to wear something loose. And sometimes they think about the fact that I have to carry this baby everywhere I go and all that. So it becomes stressful, the sleeplessness that the postpartum period often comes with. It puts them at risk of developing all these complications that we know exist in the postpartum period.
You cannot fight an enemy you don't know, right? And yesterday I was asking some of my mom friends to, share some of the experiences with me. And one thing that ran through most of the experiences they shared is that they didn't even know that that's what was happening to them.
Exactly.
So my question is, how do you identify that, or how do you wake up and realize that what's happening to me, the depression, the lack of appetite, the gluttony, because some of them said they were eating so much, or the pregnancy nose that refuses to go away. How do you know that what's happening to me is temporary? It's just something that happens after childbirth, and then these are the things I can do to manage it.
So it starts with things like this, the opportunity, the media making a lot of noise about it to drum home the fact that every mother going through pregnancy who gives birth or delivers is at risk of developing postpartum psychosis. Then you need to also be aware of the symptoms that it comes with, the low moods, the crying spells. Sometimes they'll be there and they are crying for no apparent reason. And they become so irritable. The little thing, you ask them a simple question and they throw some tantrums at you. These are signs that we should be looking out for when we are with such mothers, especially when it comes with other biological features like difficulty in sleeping. Especially for most of these new mothers. You realize that because the baby sleeps maybe an hour or two, wakes up to feed again, the mother is unable to even find any rest in between the period. Right. And it's even worse when they don't have any help from maybe an old mom who has come to stay with their grandson or granddaughter at the end of the day.
Right.
So it comes with educating everybody to become aware of the various symptoms and manifestations of these postpartum conditions.
Let's talk about support for these women.
Yeah.
I mean, the women themselves, these mothers themselves, might be going through these challenges and they don't even want to understand that it's a period. And because they are depressed, they don't want to accept the solutions that you're giving them. The influx of Western culture, let's not go far, social media.
Exactly.
And how we, on the other side, can support these women. Because most of the time you go on social media, Instagram especially, and you see new mothers with some nice body and they are,
Exactly.
you know, making you feel, you the new mother, feel as if there's something very wrong with you because your stomach is still very soggy and it doesn't. So let's talk about how we, who are not mothers, can support these women during this period and how we can actually help them or win them off the influence of social media during this period.
Yeah. So as you rightly said, social media can be a very bad thing, but it has very good advantages. I've seen women who rant on various women-specific pages or groups, and it gives them some form of psychological relief. They share their problems anonymously, and other women come in to contribute, and they take a cue or two from the advice that they may get from there. So essentially, it's about women supporting each other. Women, often we say women are their own
What
enemies.
about the men? Because, I mean, in whatever the case, there's always a man present when a child is born, right?
Ultimately, it's very important. Well, I'm directing it at women because your question was primarily mentioning women. But then the support should come from both sides. If you have a supportive husband, or all husbands are expected to be supportive, you don't give birth to a new child and leave the woman to take care of the child alone. There is the need to lend a helping hand. Sometimes you may not be able to bath the baby, but at least just fetching the water for the woman gives the woman a certain level of assurance that they are not alone in this. Sometimes the words of encouragement that you keep telling the woman, you let her know that even the change in form, the change in the size of her nose
makes her more beautiful.
Her more beautiful. Exactly. You know how good that makes people feel when they are praised. So that also comes in. Then with regards to getting extra hands also in the home to help. If you can afford it, get somebody to help you pay the person, or someone to come in every now and then to help with the washing of the baby's clothes, so that madam can also have some rest at the end of the day. It helps them, the women, to feel encouraged. It helps them to feel more relaxed and able to cope with the stresses that the period comes with.
Okay, we have to go, but I want you to speak specifically to mothers who may be watching us right now. What would be your advice as a specialist psychiatrist on how to manage postpartum if they're going through that? You can look into your camera.
Okay, thank you so much. So for all the women out there who are currently going through the period of postpartum with some form of depression or the other, I would encourage them to know that they are not alone. They have every help. We are willing at the level of the various health facilities to offer a helping hand to them to help them navigate the period smoothly. So if any woman is listening to me right now and they have any challenge, I will encourage them to report to the mental health unit of the nearest healthcare facility, and they will get the necessary help and assistance that they may require.
Thank you, Dr. Julius Hache, for ushering us into this purple month.
Thank you so
Better
much.
late than never, right?
Thank you.
All right. So Dr. Julius Hache is a specialist psychiatrist, and he's also with the Mental Health Authority, specifically at Pantang
Hospital.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.